especially in curling, the stage is the Olympics. It's a smaller sport, so, every 4 years you've got that circled on the calendar. It's not like we're, playing on the Olympic basketball team or something, and there's the NBA too and stuff like that. And, there's a lot of other stuff to accomplish in the sport, but the Olympics is the big one that everybody strives for.
This is Beyond the Moon, a Ditch Witch podcast where we dig deep into news, job site stories, Ditch Witch culture, and all the other dirt that makes up the industry.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the season finale of Season 3 of Beyond the Moon. I could not be more excited for our guest today. We've got Danny Casper, who is the captain of Team Casper and also the U.S. Olympic trial champion men's curling team with us today. I'm so excited. Danny, thank you so much for joining us. How are you today?
I'm good, thanks. Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, awesome, man. So this is our first time doing like a remote podcast, so we're pretty excited. I can see that you are potentially in a car right now, but I'm so glad that you're able to join us. And I know nothing about curling. Our audience, I'm pretty sure, knows nothing about curling. So I want to get into that. But first, I wanted to talk about the U.S. Olympic trials and what was going through your head and what that was like. So can you just, that was just a week or two ago, but can you tell me like was that your first time? What was going through your head? Were you guys nervous? Tell me about the trials. How was that?
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. That was our first time playing. I believe actually one of my teammates, Ben, had played in the previous trials, but it's kind of a weird thing because we were confident going in. We were the highest ranked U.S. team, so we weren't this young up and coming team necessarily. At least that's not how we felt, and we were able to play well. The last series was a best of 3 series between us and Team Schuster, and the games were just ridiculous and super high level, and we were super excited to pull it off. You kind of think about winning the Olympic trials since you're a kid, and to do it was super cool. And this time was a little bit different because the U.S. We got to go play in a qualifier event because the U.S. doesn't actually have an Olympic spot yet, but still a good accomplishment nonetheless, one that we're proud of. And I've just been trying to get my guys to kind of reel it back in a little bit and focus and remind them that there's still work to do.
That's right. It's not all just a party yet. Yeah, and you mentioned Team Schuster. That's an Olympic gold medal champion, correct?
Correct. Yeah. 2018.
Yeah, that's big time. So you and I talked on the phone before the trials, and you mentioned that you knew Team Schuster and Team Dropkin, like. And there was another team at the trials too, and I can't, their name's escaping me right now, but can you tell me about the curling community? Like, how well do you know these other guys? Do you know Team Schuster? Like, just talk to me about the relationship, off the ice or the rink or the court or the whatever you call it.
Yeah, it's special. Off the ice is good. It's cool. A lot of the people at the trials had actually played with each other in previous years on different teams. And to be honest, the field between the 4 total teams, I think I can call most of them some of my best friends, which is great. At the same time, it makes it hard when someone wins at the end and everyone else loses, and we're lucky to be on the winning side, but it's not easy seeing your friends lose. But it's a special community, the curling world. Not a huge sport, so it's pretty tight knit. But for example, we won the final against Team Schuster, and go back home and party with Team Schuster. So it's kind of odd, but it's super cool and super nice of them to do that, and kind of shows their personalities and their wisdom and sportsmanship.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I think it's cool that because I think you even mentioned that maybe some members on the other teams or even like on co-ed softball teams, and you're all based in and around Minneapolis, if I remember correctly. Does that sound right?
Yeah, I can't believe I forgot to mention that. The softball team is a big deal over the last few summers. We've had the team rolling. We won our league. Not to brag too much, but won our league twice now, I think. So, softball champs as well. But yeah, a lot of us live in the same area and see each other every day. So, we're all pretty close.
Yeah, I mean, representing the country and being U.S. Olympic trials champions, kind of cool. But that co-ed softball stuff, that's where the big attention gets. That's where you hang your hat
It
on, I'm sure.
might be the bigger accomplishment. Hard to say. Hard to say.
Yeah, no doubt. So I'm curious about this. I'm kind of a sports-minded person and played sports and watched sports most of my life, and I'm kind of a superstitious type of person. So I'm curious. Does Team Casper have any traditions or superstitions that you guys like have? Lucky socks, or is there a theme song that you listen to, or is there anything that's kind of quirky about Team Casper?
I'm not a superstitious person myself. I'd say overall we're not, but I think Aiden and Ben might wear the same socks all the time, and Aiden has kind of created a bit of a, I don't know, a bit of a trend with his headband that he wears, and we've got a lot of our fans have started to wear headbands, and I have a headband celebration and all this kind of stuff, so that's super fun. But superstition, not really. I think we listen to I don't know if this is embarrassing to admit or not, but before the game, we have this big boom box, and I'm in charge of the music, and we just play it way too loud, and we listen to a lot of Rihanna.
Oh,
So
wow.
we got to make sure we get some Rihanna songs in there. Yeah, and it's fun. And I've
That's
also
awesome. Rihanna's with the bangers.
yeah, I got a bit of a weird thing myself, I guess you could say. I don't call it a superstition because I don't think if I don't do it, we're gonna lose or something. But they had a bunch of Powerades and snacks and stuff for the athletes in the tunnel, and I would always take a red Powerade and a blue Powerade, and I would drink them at the same time. So I'd take a sip of one and a sip of the other, and then go back to playing. And a bunch of fans and family members started noticing, and they were like, "What are you doing?" And I didn't even notice myself at first, but it kind of just became a thing. I just said, I don't know, I just like both flavors, so I want to drink both. I don't know, there's nothing to it. But then it became a bit of a trend. Yeah, and I had to continue it.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. And you brought one thing up, and like I said, I was watching the trials, and towards the end, and you're the skip, which means you throw the last couple stones or rocks or whatever you want to call them. I don't want to get into that, but you would do the headband thing, and I have it written down like you do this hand motion across your forehead. What is that? I mean, are you talking to somebody in the crowd? Is that can you give me a little insight into what you're doing there or what that means?
Yeah, so that started, I mentioned Aiden wears the headband, and that's a whole other story about why he started wearing a headband. It was to I don't know, make fun of another curler, I guess you could say, and then he decided that he liked it, so he kept wearing it. And then what happened was, some of our family members, like especially cousins and people's nieces and nephews, the young kids, they all showed up and they would wear headbands to our games. And after we would make a good shot, they'd do a little headband, I don't know, I guess swipe across the forehead, you'd call it, and point. So I started doing it back, even though I don't wear a headband. But it kind of became a little bit of a thing, and then it grew, and some other family members and friends did it, and then just some fans were doing it. So it was actually a really cool thing. The broadcast can't really show it too well in the crowd, but being there and playing, we'd make a good shot, and I'd do this, and I'd look up into the crowd, and there's 30 people doing a little, hand across the forehead and point. So it's super fun, and definitely something I think we're gonna have to continue.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. It's like the Michael Jordan of curling, right? You could stick your tongue out, right? But you're the headband guy. You're a trendsetter. Everybody's doing it now. That's awesome. So yeah, when you hear, yeah, I know you're gonna say we got work to do, because you do. There's another qualifying round to get US a spot in the Olympics. But when you hear Team Casper or Danny Casper, US Olympian or US Olympic trial champion, what does that mean to you? I know you said you dream of this as a little kid, but like, has it set in yet that you are Team USA potentially? What does that mean to you and your team?
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing, and like you mentioned, we've got more work to do, and I always am first to mention that whenever I start talking about this. And my teammates, I'm kind of becoming the no fun guy a little bit, making sure that they're still focused and understand that we have a lot more stuff that we got to take care of. But the way I look at it is, if I need to be the guy that they're a little bit annoyed with because I'm, putting a little bit of a damper on the party, but it lets us focus and get to the Olympics, then I'll take it. But at the same time, we got to enjoy what we did. And it's special what we were able to accomplish and something you think about and dream of. And especially in curling, the stage is the Olympics. It's a smaller sport, so every 4 years you've got that circled on the calendar. It's not like we're playing on the Olympic basketball team or something, and there's the NBA too and stuff like that. And there's a lot of other stuff to accomplish in the sport, but the Olympics is the big one that everybody strives for. So it's a pretty crazy thing to think about. I almost kind of don't want it to set in because it definitely hasn't yet. Because like I said, maybe after we go win that last qualifier, then I'll let it set in. But for now, it's playing catch up with my life, with my job, responding to people, and it's just a couple weeks, and then we got to go play again.
Well, that's awesome. I know you guys all have full-time jobs, and I appreciate you taking time out of your day to hop on with us. And I know our audience and our followers that listen are probably going, "Why are we talking to the captain of a curling team?" Well, for all the Beyond the Moon fans and Ditch Witch people, we entered into a very late agreement, a partnership with Team Casper. So we're a sponsor of the team. So we are all in Perry, Oklahoma. And I think I told you that via text, Danny, after you guys won the trials, is you have a ton of fans in Perry, Oklahoma and the surrounding community. So we're glad that Ditch Witch is a part of your journey, and we just want to go along for the ride, and we're excited about it. So thank you for letting us hop on board with you. But I did want to get into just some curling for dummies, curling for Sean, if you will. Like, let's talk about, first of all, I live in Oklahoma. Curling is not the most popular thing in the world here. I don't know how does one get into curling? Is there curling clubs up north? I think you're from New York. You live in Minnesota now. How does somebody get into curling?
Yeah, it's everyone's got a little bit of a unique story, I feel like, with curling's obviously a smaller sport, but I like you said, I grew up in New York, and even less popular in New York as compared to the Midwest. But I had some extended family that actually played in the Olympics as well, curling. Not my parents, but my dad kind of figured, I gotta try this sport, like at least for fun. So my parents joined a league and just did it as a social thing, kind of like how you can join a golf league or a tennis league or something. And then I was just kind of around when I was younger and tried it and would play. And I played a bunch of other sports when I was younger. And actually, someone on Team Dropkin, which was one of the teams that was at the trials, we grew up in the same town. His name's Andrew Stapera. And he was super into it, and we went to school together, and I kind of followed in his footsteps a little bit. He was into it and kind of convinced me to get into it, and we kind of pushed each other, and now we're both out in Minnesota, part of this national program. So it's pretty cool. Me and him every once in a while like to reminisce and kind of be like, all right, so we started this sport, and now we're both in Minnesota. Like, that's kind of weird, but kind of cool. So
Yeah. No, that's cool. So how does somebody get good? How does somebody get on your level in curling? Like, is it a weightlifting regimen? Is it a ice skating? Is it a drinking beer and getting your touchdown as a slide? Like, do you do yoga? How do you get good at curling?
yeah, well, I think a couple things. One, curling, there's a lot of comparisons to golf. So I always say, a curling slide is kind of like a golf swing where there's a lot of technical aspects to it. One thing can very easily go wrong. So it's repetition, just like any sport, but it's a big feel sport. Like, you got to feel your slide and know what you're doing. And the other thing too, I always kind of joke, I call it a hybrid team sport, because there's just 4 people on a team. So there's a lot of strategy, there's a lot of communication, so you kind of got to try to nail that down. And it's not like it's an individual sport. It's not like it's a huge team sport like football, where let's say you don't like someone on the team. Well, you might not have to talk to them all the time if they play a different position, but there's just the 4 of us, and we're traveling around the world together. We're playing out there, and I think that's one of the big parts that I actually like about the sport is, especially once you get to the highest of levels. If you have a weak link on the team, you can't hide. They're going to get exposed. And I think, having a group of 4 strong players is really cool. But I'd say, yeah, just kind of repetition, consistency, good team dynamics, and just kind of that feel of your slide over and over.
That makes sense. So here comes the dumbest question that you've heard about curling, probably in your life. But what does the sweeping do? Are we speeding up the stone, or do you call it a rock? Like, so sweep it. Are we going faster? Is that slowing it down? Is it turning it? Like, what's the point in sweeping?
Well, yeah, that can easily be a long answer, but what I'll say for now is sweeping at its basic level. Um, Curling ice is different than hockey ice. So curling ice has all these little bumps on it that they put on before the game. It's called pebbling, and then they chop the tops off, and that's the running surface of the rock and what it's going on. So when you sweep, you're creating friction and a little bit of heat and melting those bumps, and that allows the rock to go a little bit further and curl a little bit less. Because curling, over the course of the shot, a rock curls based on the turn that you put on it. However, I will say there's been all these different sweeping methods. There's different techniques you can use to make a rock curl more, make it slow down. But at its basic level, sweeping a rock makes it go further.
Okay, yeah, that helps. That's a good explanation too. And is it called a shooter? Is that the guy that pushes? You said slide earlier. Is that
Yeah, thrower, I'd say. Yeah.
okay? So with the thrower, why does that person get in that crazy position? I mean, I look at it and go, my knee would explode or my hip would explode if I even tried to do that. So what's the rationale in that position?
You know what? I have no idea. It's definitely easier than if you're just squatting there and you don't move and you just chuck it, because when you do that slide, you have a baseline of how hard you need to throw a rock or slide. Because in a curling slide, ideally, you're not using much of your arms. You're using the speed that you're getting is from your legs and from your slides. So if you think about it, if you're sitting there and you just squat down and throw it with your hand, sure, over time, I'm sure you can get pretty good at it and knowing how hard to throw. But if you do a full slide that takes 4.5 seconds, there's a lot more time to kind of be able to practice and assess your slide and see how long it takes, see how hard you need to push. We use a lot of stopwatches in the game, and we're timing how long it takes the beginning of the slide to the end of the slide. And, we have to be able to know the difference of sliding 4.3 seconds or 4.1 seconds to affect the distance of how long it's going to go. So I think it's just kind of more data maybe to be able to kind of perfect the speed of the rock. But it is kind of funny that we just do that.
Yeah, I see it. I just think, man, I'd end up in the hospital immediately. But I'm not quite the athlete that you guys are either. So I alluded to this earlier. I think your position or title or role within the team is the skip. What does that mean? And what do you do as the skip?
Yeah, so the skip is the captain. They're kind of like the quarterback of the team. So the other 3 members of the team, they all alternate. They throw 2 rocks, and then the other 2 people sweep, and they all take turns. My job, however, is I'm in charge of the strategy. So I'm telling everybody what shots we're going to call, because a curling sheet is 150 feet long. So if you're getting ready to throw on one end, you can't really tell what's going on the other end. So I'm on the other end, and I'm seeing what's going on, and I'm telling people, okay, we're gonna throw this shot. I tell people when to sweep, and then I'm also in charge of throwing the last shot every round. They're called ends. And so the pressure ones, and I don't actually sweep myself, thank God, because that looks quite tiring. But that's kind of my role in the team.
Okay, yeah, that's awesome. So, and you mentioned that you played a bunch of other sports and stuff coming up, and as the skip, you're kind of calling the shots, and it needs to go or curl or turn left or turn right, and you have the calls to make all that kind of happen. But for other sports, can you make a comparison? Like when you have somebody that has a perfect throw and you're the skip for that, is that like hitting a 300-yard drive down the middle of the fairway, or is that a strike in bowling or hitting a grand slam in baseball, or like, is there anything to compare it to another sport and kind of what that is and what that means, a perfect shot?
That's a good question. I never thought about that before. I think the first thing that comes to mind is probably executing like a good football play, just because there's there's a few people involved. You watch the NFL, and to successfully pass for a first down or have a good run, it takes the whole team. So I'd say it's similar to curling too, because sure, you can throw the rock perfectly as the thrower, but there's still an opportunity for the other three people involved to kind of mess it up. To be honest, they can sweep at the wrong time, sweep too much, too little. And same goes the other way. You can throw it not the great, but they kind of save you, and they sweep it super hard and kind of carry it a longer distance. So it's a lot of people involved. So it's not like golf where you just hit the perfect shot by yourself. Great job, go me. It takes all four of us to make a good shot.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. That's a good way to think of it. And I've got another, just a couple more questions for you, and I'll let you get out of here because I know you got work to do, and your boss is probably breathing down your neck, and I've taken up a bunch of your time. But so we'll probably edit this part out in post production. But if I can get you to say the names Scott, Shan, and Kevin, if you can say, "Hey, Scott, Shan, or Kevin, can you make sure that I have some marketing support in Italy when we make it to the Olympics?" I feel like Sean should come to Italy and support Team Casper. Can you say something like that?
So Scott, Shan, and Kevin, it sounds like you might have some pull around there. And, us as Team Casper going to Italy, we definitely need some marketing support. There's a lot going on over there, and it seems like Sean might be the guy. So if you could, let him come over with us, I think that'd be a pretty good use of time.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you saying that. I don't know why you just pulled that out of the blue like that, but that's awesome. We'll see if we can get over there. But I do have, I have one kind of closing question for you, and it's a bit of a sales pitch for you. And again, I know you've got another qualifying round to go, but like I said, you've got a bunch of fans in Oklahoma, and we've got pretty good reach with this podcast. So anybody that listens to this, I hope is gonna watch the Olympics and watch Team Casper represent the country. But give me a sales pitch. Why should folks tune into men's curling in the Olympics, and what can they expect from Team Casper should you get through this final qualifying round?
Yeah, for sure. I think, to me, one of the great things about the Olympics is learning about sports that you haven't seen much of. And, curling is as good of an example as that as any. And, it's super fun. There's a lot of strategy involved, and I think that's cool from a new curler's perspective. You can kind of watch along and kind of try to learn the strategy in the moment and think about why they're calling certain shots, because everyone at the Olympics is going to make a lot of shots, and I think a lot of the shots that we call are maybe not what you would think as a new curler. My kind of one piece of advice that I watch for someone, or that I say to someone watching for the first time, is they're very rarely trying to get it in the middle of the rings. And why that is, I think it's fun to kind of tune in and try to figure it out for yourself. And, the commentator help you along a little bit as well. But the other reason too is you can go try it super easily. I think as easily as any sport out there. So you can watch or even try it beforehand and then watch. And there's curling clubs all over the place. And it's, I think it'd be kind of fun to compare what you're able to pull off versus watching the Olympics. And there's lots of yelling too. So that's always fun. So I recommend it.
Yeah, no doubt. That sounds awesome. I'm going to give it a try at some point, and I hope I don't hurt myself. But with that, Danny, thank you so much for hopping on with us and spending some time. I know you got a lot of work to do in your day-to-day, and you also got a lot of work to do to make it to the Olympics. So thank you so much for hopping on. And we'll be watching, and we'll be cheering you on.
I appreciate it. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. This was fun.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in and listening to Danny Casper, the captain and skip of Team Casper, going to represent the USA, hopefully, in the Olympics coming up in February. So that's a wrap for Season 3, and we appreciate y'all tuning in, and we'll catch you next time. See y'all.
Well, that's it for this week's episode of Beyond the Moon. Be sure to subscribe to this podcast on your favorite platform and follow us on social media @DitchWitch.